Welcome to the broadcast, my tutti fruities, and welcome to a new month. We are in July, so in that spirit, it is time for me to remind you to press the subscribe button if you mean to subscribe to this channel, and also to click the notification bell if you wish to be reminded whenever I broadcast. It's also time for me to thank anybody that might have sent a tip jar treat my way over the last month, for a cup of coffee or a trinket, or for charity shop finds. And yes, it is one of those broadcasts when we have a tip jar corner today, where I will be showing you some trinkets, some gowns that I've found in the charity shops, and a few books. But I will put the timestamp for tip jar corner in the description box, so you can skip along there if you wish to. But I thank anybody most sincerely, as I say, who has contributed to Tip Jar Corner, but also to anybody that has been engaged with the channel or been viewing it recently. I really do appreciate your company, your sass, your humour, and I see you. Please know that I see you and I understand how fabulous most of you are. The vast majority of you really do bring such cheer and a smile to this occasion, this broadcast, and it's quite overwhelming. Oh, good, here it goes. You know, I really was umming and ahhing about wearing these earrings, because for one thing, this side, which is always falling off, is squeaky. It is squeaky. You can't hear it, but I can hear it going off like a little mouse. Squeak, squeak, squeak in the air. But my other blue earrings just didn't cut it with this gown. I thought this gown looked nice with these earrings, so that's what I went for. The pains I undertake. I also want to wish a happy Canada Day to my Canadian fruits, because I think it was yesterday, wasn't it? Canada, Canada, wonderful Canada. And we've got another celebration coming up for beloved American fruits round the corner, haven't we? Yes, our naughty American cousins coming up this week. So happy, happy occasions for all. So let's kick off the silliness by looking at these stories about Catherine that have been emerging this week. Recollections may vary. I've got to tell you, I am really enjoying the juiciness of these stories and this new rather mischievous narrative with regards to Catherine. How she is the force behind the power. She is the balls behind Big Willie. I am really enjoying it because I have also noticed and told you that I sense a little more of the diva. And it could possibly be our imagination and, as I say, mischief within the press, but it is fun, isn't it, to see her channeling her future queendom and this glint of steel in the eyes that we are seeing in some of her wardrobe and some of the imagery, but also being enjoyed by the press, because I don't think it is to her detriment. It is feeding many of us what we want, which is a feeling of strength within the monarchy, built on good morals and good foundations, not on anything malicious and underhanded and crafty, unlike the Sussexes. No. That is certainly not what is being intimated, simply that there is an inner fire and inner steel and a wish to protect the institution and the future of the monarchy itself. And Catherine is certainly fitting that mould, isn't she? I've just switched earrings because I was having no joy, but if these start giving me trouble, then I'm afraid it'll be nude, bare earlobes for you today, my dears. But we'll try it out. And the story that we are being told by Valentine Lowe via courtiers and the updated version of his book, extracts from that appearing in the Times. The story we are being told, revolving around the Recollections may vary statement, is that they were not words that came from Her late Majesty. And the suggestion has been that the initial draft for this statement was rather benign and didn't really put up much of a defence, even subtly. Most of the whispers in the past have suggested that the Recollections may vary line was at the intimation of Sir Clive Alderton, the private secretary to Charles and Camilla then and now. But Valentine Lowe seems to be under the impression, despite the headlines regarding Catherine, that it was actually written at the behest of Jean-Christophe Grey, who was William's private secretary and only 3 weeks into his new post at that time. And once that little nugget was added to the statement, it was Catherine who pressed home the argument that it should remain. The source told Valentine Lowe it was Kate who clearly made the point that history will judge this statement, and unless this phrase or a phrase like it is included, everything that they have said will be taken as true. The source also said that Kate does not get as much credit as she should because she is so subtle about it. She is playing the long game. She has always got her eye on, this is my life and this is my historic path and I am going to be queen one day. Well, apparently this toughened up draft was sent along to Her late Majesty and a couple of hours later was approved. And Valentine Lowe goes on to call it then Jean-Christophe's memorable phrase. So as much as I am enjoying the press coverage and accept the possibility that there is a grain of truth behind it, I do think, in all honesty, that it is a machination of the press to attract eyes to the story, to give it a bit more oomph, which worked over the weekend. But I am not complaining because I don't think that it does Catherine any harm. And I must confess that even though it is totally a possibility that there is truth behind this, and Catherine and William were more insistent that a defence of sorts was made, I can hold that as likely. Perhaps another reason that I am reticent to completely take this news at face value is simply the fact that it leaves me a little bit disappointed that the words didn't spring from Her late Majesty's lips, because I think we all rather enjoyed the thought of her saying, "Recollections, me very dear." You know, even if we had heard whispers that it might have come from other places, it was a nice little thought, wasn't it? But despite who was behind it, I think one thing that we can all agree on, my dears, is that it was an absolutely solid gold moment, wasn't it? What a wonderfully perfect and apt retort that said nothing and yet absolutely everything and will haunt them for the rest of their days. It was fun to see Prince William taking Prince George to watch the cricket, wasn't it? And to munch pizza. Yes, nothing like a lovely slice of pizza. You know, one of my favourite childhood food memories was a pizza that they used to serve up at our school canteen. And there was nothing chic about this pizza. It wasn't some properly done Italian affair with thin crust. It was, I think they called it French crust, French bread pizza, I'm not sure, but it was about an inch thick. And it was just a molten puddle of cheese and tomato on the top that used to sort of pool and puddle and then harden over the hours that it was left out in the air. And that's when it tasted the best, because it had that sort of rubbery, tangy bite to it. And you would crunch in through the French bread and feel that molten rubberiness. And it was a sensation. It was a sensation. You know, when something takes you back and, oh, you can smell it now. It was the best pizza that I will have ever had to this day, including any sojourns that I've been to Italy and tasted the delights of the world. Nothing compares to that cheap as chips, rubbery school pizza. Cheese pizza. Absolutely wonderful, but I digress. George had a wonderful time, washed it down with a lovely tonic of some kind, and they were watching England versus Australia. Well, I don't follow the sport, my dear. I believe that Australia are outperforming England. Most people outperforming England. And seeing as I am not a fan of great sport, it doesn't really bother me. Sometimes it makes me chuckle. It's terribly unpatriotic, isn't it? But I don't care at all. But it must be difficult for Prince William because he, of course, is future King of Australia as well. Okay, perhaps that's a little bit premature. He possibly won't go on to become King of Australia, but his father is King of Australia at this moment of time, as well as King of these shores. Yes, my dear. So it's a bit of a tricky situation, but then I guess it's a win-win situation, isn't it? No matter who he is there to support. Prince George was very smart in a blazer and check shirt, and Prince William looked exceptionally suave and handsome in his sunglasses and sun-blushed skin. Beautiful. And he also took a jolly the other day to the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which we spoke about recently, a legendary venue of the letters community, I should say. It used to be called a gay club, but now we have every letter of the alphabet and then some drawn into the equation, don't we, my dears? But it was when we spoke about Paul O'Grady and his drag alter ego of Lily Savage, who used to perform there a lot. A historic gay venue, and also historic for the legend of Princess Diana when she went there for a 20-minute session with Freddie Mercury and Elton John. No, not Elton John. Freddie Mercury. Kenny Everett it was. Cleo Rockus. That was it. And they disguised her That was it. They disguised her as a boy to get in there. They had spent the evening together watching the Golden Girls and drinking champagne. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? And then Diana asked to join them. She was in full mischief mode, Cleo Rocker said in her autobiography. So they dressed her up, hoping she would pass for a rather eccentrically dressed gay male model. And Cleo said that she did look like a beautiful young man. And they went undetected in the club for 20 minutes. That was just a quick in and out. So it was fun to see Prince William in the venue having a natter with some of his associates, and they spoke about mental health within the letters community. And these are charity volunteers. You see, they come from charities such as the Mix and the Shaft, and these charities are partners of the Heads Together campaign. That's the connection. He's not just paying some sort of woke nod to the letters community. It's not just about that. He's also paying homage to the two charities that work with Heads Together, which is founded by the Royal Foundation, and they offer free confidential support for young people who are struggling and feel alone. And the Duke of Edinburgh has been hanging around with young people, in fact all kinds of people. He's been visiting the people of Northern Ireland this week, and he's gone down a treat. And as colonel of the battalion, he met riflemen and the families of personnel deployed overseas. And he held a Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award celebration at Hillsborough Castle, welcoming over 140 young people to recognise their extraordinary achievement. He spent time in Garver Forest to hear about the parks and new mountain biking and walking trails, lovely to be out in nature, and he met with members of the Royal British Legion at the Village War Memorial. Then a cooking demonstration at the oldest women's institute in Ireland. And at the Macedon Temple, he took in a choral performance, and this temple was built originally as a library back in the 1700s. How fabulous. And this one made me raise an eyebrow when I noticed in the background that he was at Harry's shack. Oh, has he been to Montecito? Yes, Harry's shack in orangey ginger lettering. Who would have thunk it? Well, somebody thunk it up. And he met with families who were having fun on the Portstewart Inclusive Beach. Yes, this is an inclusive beach for all kinds of people to see the work of the May Murray Foundation. And this charity supports people of all ages and all abilities with things like swimming, surfing and playing on the beach. Very fun. And Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, opened the new Charfleet book Bindery in Canvey Island. Elegant she was, in this khaki wrap dress by McQueen. She was wearing brown stilettos and a khaki tote with blue embellishments. And she cut a red ribbon there. Lovely. This historic bindery was founded in 1919 and has moved to a modern facility, and Charfleet specialises in producing high-end notebooks and diaries. And the Queen of Science was in town. Yes, she was. Not a coronation robe this time, but a robe of white, a lab coat, as our Queen took to microscopes to inspect the research that is taking place at the UCC Institute of Immunity and Transplantation. And this research is taking place with the aim of stopping the immune attack that is responsible for type 1 diabetes and other autoimmune conditions that affect so many people. This is bringing together various elements of a groundbreaking partnership, including research on other areas such as arthritis and multiple sclerosis, etc., with expertise to accelerate research and develop more sophisticated treatments and cures. So very worthy and really quite special. And on a nice note, there was celebration for the Princess of Wales' collaboration with Queen Camilla, because the Country Life cover that was shot by Catherine and published last summer has won the cover of the year at the PPA Awards. Yes, Catherine's own photography. This is the Oscars of the magazine world, and this particular edition, if you remember, was guest edited by Camilla, and these photographs were taken at her home Raymill in Wiltshire. Isn't it absolutely splendid? It looks gorgeous, and I am going to be off for some time in Wiltshire this very month. I am going to be visiting, and you can let me know if you've been to these places and found them enchanting. Castle Combe, that's C-O-M-B-E, Castle Combe. I have never been there. I am excited to go there and take in the sights, although I believe it will be swarming with tourists at this time of year, but we've got plans to avoid them a bit. Castle Combe, I expect I will be taking in Bath for a little bit, because I always like to go to Bath, and some other pretty little places in the area, including Laycock, the small village that Camilla is very au fait with and pops in a lot, because I believe it's close to Ray Mill, isn't it, itself? And who knows, perhaps I'll pop into Ray Mill for a cup of tea with the Queen. Okay, now it's time for us to take a trip to that dressing up box of delights that we all know and love. Tip Jar Corner. Welcome to Tip Jar Corner, everybody, where I get to show and tell various items and trinkets and gowns that I have found in second-hand stores, charity shops, mainly charity shops to be honest, online sometimes, Amazon, a bit of high street. This gown, for example, was from the high street. Okay, let's start with some of the gowns, tunics and loose-fitting pieces that you've seen me wear over the last few weeks. As you might remember, I wanted to go with a sort of Indian summer theme to find loose-fitting fabrics. Some of them will be rather baggy on me. I just grabbed these gowns, and I call them gowns in the campest sense of the word, my dear. Of course, they're just cheap as chips old frocks from the second-hand store, all washed, let me tell you, most of them. This is one of the rare ones that is brand new, off the peg from Primark, dear, yes. You can find this in Plymouth. It didn't cost very much at all. Everything there is very cheap. And although I did buy this one in the wrong size, this is a size 10, and I managed to squeeze in it. Sometimes you will see me looking a little snug in these things. Remember, I don't try them on at the second-hand stores, so it's a bit of a lucky dip. And as you know, ladies, it's hard to find exactly what size fits you. And I would never normally buy a size 10. I'm not sure what that is in America, by the way. This is a UK size 10, this gown, so it would normally be a bit snug on me. I'm over 6'1" in height, so I'm very tall. I would usually go for perhaps a 12. Occasionally I will just buy something super size because I just want to sit there and be able to relax without it being too constrictive. It's always a bit of a potluck, but I managed to wriggle into this one. And I have to say I rather like the sort of, I don't know, tie-dye abstract look of it. I find it quite elegant and simple. As you know, I didn't plan to pair it with these square blue earrings. One of you told me in the comments once that they didn't flatter me, this shape, and I happen to agree with you. I don't think they especially flatter me either, so I've been trying to avoid them, but they're the only other dark blue earrings that I have at the moment, so I shall have to get some other ones that don't fall off, like my blue dangly ones, won't I? And up my game. Now, this pink gown was very fun to wear. I enjoyed that, as did many of you. It looked really nice. It's got a nice retro vibe. And actually, I'd forgotten, but this was from Primark too, because I found it. And this is a size 12. So it was a bit more loose. And it was reduced from £20 to £10. So that's not bad, is it? For a very long evening gown, I will try and get a long shot of it for you. But the colour is gorgeous. The fit is lovely. The lines are very nice. And I paired it with this puce fascinator. And as I mentioned recently, I picked up some of these fascinators very cheaply from the British Heart Foundation charity shops, going for about between £7 and £11. So not expensive. This puce fascinator with candy heart earrings, and I loved the look. And many of you loved the look of this unusual affair. Do you remember? This grey blouse with, I don't know, would you say they are anime characters on them or manga characters of some kind? It was very loose and baggy on me, but I didn't mind because it was comfortable. It says that it's a medium, which I was surprised at, because when I looked up the brand, which is Sea Fierce, they do appear online, not this particular blouse, I don't think anymore, but it appeared to be an Asian-oriented website, either Asian, but the currency was in dollars, so I don't know how it wormed its way over here to London, but somehow it apparently did. And I paired it with a grey fascinator and those chandelier earrings. And I really enjoyed the whimsy of the look, because it had a little dash of casual elegance and a little dash of edgy, contemporary, unusual, whimsical fashion. Loved it. None of us can hope to wear polka dots as well as Catherine, can we, my dears? But I had a go with this bright, cheery affair. This is the one that I wore with the yellow fascinator, isn't it? That's right. And I said it was like the sky and the clouds and the sun. That was my excuse for wearing the blue and yellow together, but it was fun to wear this summer piece together with earrings of cornflower blue. And what more can I tell you? It's summery, full of gaiety and full of fun. This was a very sweet mandarin dress, you know, mandarin collar. I see it's in an XXL. I didn't feel it when I was wearing it, but I expect that's Eastern design for you, with sort of jade-like buttons on it, which is very cute. And I really loved the detail to the sleeves, which has a sort of lacy effect with floral appliques in blue and pink. And I wore it together with this hummingbird brooch, which is very delightful. Lovely shades of green there. I love the spectacular way that the feathers run red and gold and green. A tropical flight of fancy and quite a character. Love the size of it too. It's a sizable piece. And the hummingbird is actually one of my spirit animals. Have you got a spirit animal? Let me know what it is. Well, the hummingbird is one of mine. Another one of mine is the ermine, which is a very royal creature, I suppose you could say, if you consider flinging the old ermine around the neck, or as part of a royal coronation robe. Royal? Well, yes, the hummingbird and the ermine, both for their special characteristics, which are possessed within me at various times when required. I included my green candy apple hearts to the earlobes, and I accessorized with a new black headband that is sprinkled with stars. Ah, no, this is the one that I wore in the last broadcast, I remember now. Yes, this grey gown. Has it got a label in it? No, I've no idea who made this originally, my dear. And for those of you that asked, no, this wasn't a separate tunic underneath. It comes with this grey underpiece under the sort of lacy effect around the collar, the bib. I like the length of the sleeves. I like the white with the black and the grey. I enjoy wearing this sort of platinum silvery shades. And I've switched over to black gloves so that I can give you a better view of this pendant that I found. I don't think I've shown you it before, which is really wonderful. It has this large teardrop stone in the middle, and it's on a string of pearlescent beads. It was £6.95 from the vintage fair, but I know that I will re-wear it again and again because it's versatile. Oh, actually, there are two stones, aren't there? One large and one small, and they have sort of square facets to them, which is rather unusual. The facets are all square or oblong. I put it together with one of my headbands that has lots of clear stones running through it because I thought it was quite a good match. And I really enjoyed wearing this, which is inspired by my Indian summer flavour for the broadcast wardrobe over the summer months. I love the orangey colour of it. Not normally a fan of wearing orange, to be honest, although I love the colour orange. But this was a nice shade. It has a sort of peachy undertone to it, which I enjoyed. And the stripes glisten. The white stripes have little flowers applied to them, and there are sequins and bits of glitter running through it. So I thought that was rather lovely and very cool for summer, and it went really well with this champagne necklace of mine with these lovely champagne-coloured lozenges. And I found some earrings with similar tones and a light bronze headband that I don't think I'd worn before, which made a perfect marriage. This was an excellent find. I'm pretty sure you'll see it again because I enjoyed wearing it and I enjoyed the colour. I think it's a colour that suits me very well. A simple Indian style waistcoat, and what I really liked about it was the buttons because they have that bit of bling bling. I put it together with a large metallic grey headband encrusted with pearly beads, and I had fun with the makeup looks. I applied a pink highlighter to my lips on that occasion, and I was playing around with glitter a few weeks ago. Do you remember? Just odd pots of glitter that I had lying around that have been in drawers going unused for so long because it always gets a bit messy when glitter's involved. But you added a pop of shimmer here. I went crazy one day and added some to the cheeks just for a kind of mirror ball effect, a juicy kind of look. And sometimes it's fun to add a little glint to the lips just to make the light bounce and pop and offer you something a bit different. Most of you understand that I just come to you in the spirit of playfulness and not attempting to look like some sort of grand diva of style and good taste and fashion, but simply to enjoy the dressing up box of life, try out and see what works and what fails. And sometimes the mistakes can be rather fun anyway, can't they? So it adds a little bit of merriment, and for me as well as you. And I was looking particularly fruity in the episode where I wore this, well, I'm calling it a sari, but I don't really think that it is an official sari. It's just a long piece of embroidered fabric, or whatever word it is, where they apply all these sparkles on it. Does that count as a sari? I wouldn't have thought so, but perhaps it is. Anyway, I flung it over myself and pretended I was wearing a sari, and you really enjoyed the look. It was very juicy, wasn't it, in green, with a sequin headband to match, some chunky jewellery, I think, and a sort of glittery, shimmery face. And it was rather over the top, but I've got to say it was rather fun, and I think that it worked. And actually, I received a comment just over the past 24 hours or so, commenting on the broadcast where I wore this, saying that it reminded them of Elizabeth Taylor. Well, I'll take that, my dear. And quite a lot of my summer looks, I think, involve that rather retro vibe with flowing gowns, tunics, turbans. Perhaps I will invest in a few more turban-esque affair headgear, sort of exotic safari, jewel of the Nile, whatever you will, my dear. The broadcast is always going to go through different flavours. Now, this one broke my heart because it is just my very favourite thing, and I got it home. It was actually from, it doesn't say on the label, but from memory, I think it was TK Maxx. And it was going for £17, which I wouldn't normally splash out on because I like a better bargain. But originally it was £139, so 140 quid reduced to £17, apparently. What make is it? Forever unique. Forever unique. I've got to say, it doesn't feel like the most fantastic quality in the world, so I'm not sure why it was £140 to begin with, but there we go. And I just adore the colour. It has a sort of 90s feel to it. I'm thinking about, I don't know, Lady Muskeya, bands from the 90s. An off-the-shoulder number with this beautiful sort of marabou trim to it. Very, very simple. And the thing that was divine is that there are matching gloves to it as well. Fingerless gloves where the hand comes through. Now, I did try it on and I can squeeze into it, but I mean squeeze to the point where it is not especially flattering. So, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to trot all over town in it like I was hoping to. Will I wear it on a broadcast? I probably will squeeze into it for a broadcast and just film it from here upwards. Otherwise, I will look like some sort of overstuffed sausage. But I just love the colour of it. I love the silliness of it. And I just can't get over these matching gloves with the marabou trim or whatever it is. I've got a feeling that I'm going to gift it to a good friend of mine who I know will look good in this colour and this size. And that's the trouble being tall as I am. I'm usually slim enough to squeeze inside the gowns. As I've said, this one is a size 10 that I purchased by mistake, and I squeeze into it. But of course, I have long limbs, and many of these are designed for the more petite or simply the average height woman. Oh yes, this is new as well. This brooch from the Vintage Fair. It was £10. I thought it was a splendid match for this gown. It has smoky blues, some iridescent, more brilliant blues. The background is gilded gold, and the cornucopia of blue petals are a delight. This little brooch of a flying insect is rather lovely, although I wish it was 3 or 4 times the size, but I'm sure I'll find some way of incorporating it into the broadcast if I haven't already. But it has stones in fiery tones of orange, red, ambery yellow, and within the 2 wings at the top there are tiny little white flower designs, white and orange, so it's rather unique. This brooch in the shape of a horse head is just absolutely lovely. I love the hundreds of white silvery stones that make up the head, and the golden mane is just gorgeous, cascading down there, isn't it? Interwoven with ribbons of diamante. Gorgeous. It actually puts me in mind of one of my favourite lines from a poem ever, The Lady of Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free. The gemmy bridle, well, you can't see the bridle on this horse. It looks like a wild, magical horse, doesn't it? It reminds me of some of the magical white horses that I saw on Holy Island, just off of the Isle of Arran. Tiny little haul here of second-hand books for you. Nothing especially exciting this time, but you never know when they're going to come in handy. This one, A Vision of Britain, by Prince Charles as he was. I must have shown you in a tip jar corner when I picked it up. I've got a feeling it was over a year ago. It wasn't recently anyway. but I remember picking it up because they go so cheaply. This was originally £2.49, then it ended up going for £1.99. You know, the original price was £16.95, so I knew it would come in handy one day, and it came in handy this week because we were discussing Poundbury, the village that he developed and created. Somebody came to me with a question or a comment, which I will probably address in the next broadcast or one upcoming, and the information that I needed for it could be found in this. So it's always useful for me to have a sort of reference library, if you will, of random royal information. However, this one certainly isn't rare or unique, and I'm sure most of you will have it or have read it. I don't ever remember reading it, Diana's True Story, which of course was given to Andrew Morton in secret by Diana herself, so it is her unofficial, official version of events, her true story, or what she believed to be true. And that was going for £1.99 as well, so I thought it's important that I have that as a reference guide, and also it will be interesting if I get round to reading it properly to see what she had to say. I never thought that I'd be excited to read a book about sewage, but there we are. This is £1.99 by Stephen Halliday, and I think it tells the story of Sir Joseph Basil Getty. Yes, it's a biography of this enlightened 19th century engineer and planner who conceived and built the system of intercepting sewers, pumping stations and treatment works that serve London to this day, and in the process he cleansed the River Thames of the capital's sewage and helped to banish cholera, which in the mid-19th century carried off over 40,000 Londoners. His revolutionary system and the buildings associated with it were an astonishing achievement, and they represented a turning point in the modern history of London. Life in the city was transformed, and the foundations were laid for the sophisticated sewerage system that operates today. In the sweltering summer of 1858, the stink of sewage from the polluted Thames was so offensive that it drove members of Parliament from the chamber of the House of Commons. Sewage generated by a population of over 2 million Londoners was pouring into the river, where it was carried to and fro by the tides. Ugh. The Times called the crisis the Great Stink. And I notice one of the chapters is entitled "Where There's Muck, There's Brass." And as regular viewers will know, that is a piece of advice that I often impart to you, my dears. Where there's muck, there's brass. Absolutely. So that's nothing to turn your nose up at, is it, my dear? And another one who was in the press a lot over the past year due to various documentaries was the Duchess Who Dared. No, not you, Meghan, with your daring. No. The glamorous and scandalous life of the Duchess Who Dared. The Life of Margaret, Duchess of Argyll. This was £1.99 and tells the tale of Margaret, who was debutante of the year, the beautiful fairy tale heiress immortalised in Cole Porter's You're the Top, who ended up penniless and ostracised from her own family. Legal actions coloured her extraordinary life. Her divorce from the Duke of Argyll was one of the longest, costliest and most notorious in British legal history. Her diaries and photographs of her with an anonymous naked man were used in evidence. Ooh, saucy, saucy, ooh la la. Well, I'm looking at my timer as I record, and I've been recording this broadcast for 1 hour and 45 minutes. Oh, I expect I will try and slice it and splice it down to something a bit more palatable. But yes, 1 hour 45. Behind the scenes, it can be more of an effort than it looks, my dear, to cobble these things together, because I've also got to film footage of all the pieces that I've just shown you. But there we go. The only way I'm grumbling about this is because it's already late on Sunday and I want to try and get it out for Sunday. If I don't get it together in time, then it will be coming to you on Monday. If it comes out on Sunday, it's a miracle. But I believe in miracles, don't you? Anyway, I thank you for joining me. Thank you for the kiki. Thank you for the chinwag. And as I say, thank you very kindly to anybody who has sent a tip jar treat. It's fun to put some of it towards my bargain hunting and shopping. And as you see, most of the stuff that I purchase is from charity shops. Not all of it, but most of it is from charity shops and is returned and redonated once it's past usage with me. Some of these things I'll wear again and again and become favourites. Some of them only really work as a one-off. But it is all done in the spirit of recycling, reusing, and showing off the sort of discarded fluff that wouldn't normally be seen by many eyes ever again, or might be in some dusty corner forgotten. But here on the broadcast I get to show to tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands. And I like giving those little unloved objects a second life. So, see you next time, my dears. Enjoy what's left of the weekend, or the week if it's Monday. I appreciate your company. I look forward to seeing you on the next broadcast, and to the pin.